Welcome to the deep dive. Everywhere you look, whether it's the high stakes world of the boardroom, the personal devices in our hands, or even the digital currencies maybe in our wallets, the whole technological landscape is just shifting at warp speed.
It really is.
So today we're navigating this, well, complex and sometimes, frankly, alarming terrain. Our mission: cut through the noise, deliver the most important nuggets of knowledge from a whole stack of recent sources, and help you become better equipped to understand and navigate these really profound changes.
Yeah. Think of it as your shortcut to staying informed.
Exactly. Maybe with some surprising facts, maybe a bit of humor to keep you hooked.
And what's truly fascinating, I think, is how interconnected these areas are. Artificial intelligence, digital currency, cybersecurity, they seem separate, but they're really not.
Right.
Each brings incredible promise, absolutely, but also significant new challenges that demand our attention. It's truly a time of rapid transformation for all of us, really. Keeping your systems safe is super important as businesses rely more and more on digital systems, and that's where turnkey cybersecurity can really help.
Yeah, we're here to help small businesses just like yours make sure they're safe and sound in this crazy world of cybersecurity. And we offer a whole suite of services specifically tailored for you. So that's ensuring CMMC compliance and doing penetration testing. We also run vulnerability scans, and we can help you develop a comprehensive risk assessment.
And it doesn't stop there, right?
No, it doesn't.
We handle incident response, should the unfortunate happen, and we guide you through migrations like GCC. We just want to make sure your transitions are smooth and that you're secure.
It's all about peace of mind, right? You focus on what you do best, running your business, and we'll make sure that your digital world is safe and sound. So let's unpack this first one, AI. We're seeing artificial intelligence move way beyond just being an IT department thing. It's like landing squarely in the boardroom now. What does this fundamental shift mean for how businesses operate and, crucially, for their leadership?
You really hit on the core issue there.
Mm.
AI isn't just a peripheral tech anymore. It is now fundamentally a governance issue,
Mhm.
an ethics issue, a judgment issue for the top leadership.
Okay.
And the central challenge here is managing this, well, immense risk
Hmm.
in an environment where the rules, they're literally still being written as we speak.
Mm.
So board members and, frankly, senior leaders everywhere, they're going to have to drive on the AI road while it's still actively being paved.
That's a great analogy. It really captures the challenge. So, for a board navigating that still paving road, what's maybe the most insidious or the least anticipated risk they should be grappling with? When AI moves into decision-making roles.
Well, beyond the obvious stuff like AI hallucinating an answer, I think the least anticipated risk is often the inherent kind of invisible bias.
Ah.
The real danger pops up when it makes or significantly helps make critical decisions. You have to ask, are you accidentally breaching an NDA? Or exposing trade secrets when your employees feed company data into a public AI?
Right.
How can you even audit its decisions for fairness, for accuracy,
Yeah.
and who's legally on the hook for its answers? Because, let's be clear, the AI made me do it.
Mm.
That's not going to fly in court.
No, I wouldn't think so.
And AI is already, deeply embedded across industries: IT, security, finance, HR. Huge potential for lawsuits there.
Mhm.
CRM, manufacturing, sales. It's everywhere,
Mm.
which means its failures, they'll have really far-reaching consequences.
And we've actually seen some pretty stark real-world examples of AI failures, haven't we? Things that had significant, even devastating consequences.
Absolutely. You probably remember Amazon's hiring algorithm. It systematically penalized female applicants simply because it learned from historical data that was, well, biased towards men.
Yeah, I remember reading about that.
Or Zillow. They used AI to price houses they were buying to fix and flip. The algorithm messed up so badly Zillow couldn't recover.
Yeah.
Massive losses, had to shut down the whole product line.
Wow.
And then there's IBM's Watson for oncology. Shockingly, it provided unsafe recommendations for cancer treatments. We just have to hope human doctors didn't blindly follow its advice.
Gosh, the implications of that.
Oh.
It's chilling. It makes you wonder, how equipped are companies to even start auditing for these kinds of systemic biases? So what does this all mean for leaders then, or really for anyone in a company? What should be their immediate, actionable focus given these escalating risks?
Okay, for boards or senior leadership in, smaller companies, there are 4 critical actions to take, like right now.
Okay.
First, build AI literacy.
Hmm.
And I don't mean just a superficial understanding. I mean genuine fluency across the entire leadership team. Second, actively integrate AI into your strategic planning. It can't be an afterthought. Third, embed governance directly into how you work. Develop clear policies, make sure you have humans in the loop for any high-risk decisions, and crucially, conduct regular, rigorous audits for ethics and bias.
Hmm.
And finally, manage reputation and risk proactively.
Mm-hmm.
An AI failure is a huge reputational threat, plus there's a whole raft of new laws and regulations you need to track.
That makes sense.
But the core insight here for leaders, it isn't just about what policies to implement, it's the fundamental shift in responsibility.
Mhm.
AI is forcing every senior executive, whether they like it or not, to become an ethicist, and frankly, a bit of a legal expert, because the tech is just consistently outpacing the existing legal and ethical frameworks.
That's a powerful and practical framework. Okay, let's dive into something different now. A technological breakthrough that could fundamentally change who gets access to powerful AI models. We've often heard about the massive computing power needed for large language models, right? Companies like OpenAI talking about needing data center GPUs with like 80 gigabytes of memory. But what if that barrier was changing dramatically?
It truly is. I mean, up until now, trying to run anything larger than maybe a 32 billion parameter model,
Mm-hmm.
that would put most home computers to a screeching halt.
Right.
OpenAI's models, yeah, they typically require really specialized hardware. But there's a significant breakthrough emerging. It's something called the mixture of experts technique, or MOSI.
Mixture of experts. Okay.
Yeah, it's clever. It splits one massive large language model, an LLM, into several smaller, sort of specialized ones. So when a query comes in, only the relevant expert submodels get activated. And that drastically reduces the memory and the computational power needed.
So instead of needing a supercomputer, a much more kind of modest system could suddenly handle these complex models.
Precisely. There was this fascinating claim on Reddit recently, and Reddit is often where these early tech breakthroughs surface.
True.
Someone claimed they ran OpenAI's newest 120 billion parameter model on just a budget home PC with an 8 gigabit GPU and 64 gigabytes of RAM.
Seriously, on an
Yeah.
8 gig card.
Yeah, it initially sounded like science fiction, right, given the traditional requirements.
Yeah.
But then a researcher decided to test it. They took a 70 billion parameter model and tried it on their own, more modest home rig.
Mm-hmm.
Suboptimal GPU, only 20 gigabits of RAM.
Okay, so a real world test. And what happened? What were the results?
Well, previously, when he ran that same 70 billion parameter model, the best he could get was maybe 1 token per second throughput. That's less than a word per second. Really slow.
Okay. Painful.
But with this MOE technique applied, and without any special tuning, even after disabling some safeties because of a warning he got, he achieved an astounding 15 to 20 tokens per second.
Whoa.
Yeah, on a relatively average consumer-grade PC.
That's an incredible performance jump, running genuinely useful LLMs on a home computer. What does this fundamentally unlock for like individual developers or researchers or even just curious people wanting to experiment with AI on their own?
Well, it means useful large language models can now run on much more accessible kind of everyday hardware. That opens up development experimentation possibilities to a significantly wider audience.
Oh.
This is potentially the first big step towards truly democratizing advanced AI, shifting power away from just a few cloud computing giants.
Yeah.
The real insight here, I think, is that this breakthrough could unlock just an explosion of decentralized innovation right on everyday devices.
Yeah.
It raises a big question. If this is possible now, what are next month's innovations going to bring? The pace in this field is it's breathtaking.
It really is. Okay, moving from the cutting edge of AI, our next topic takes us into the, well, bold and sometimes bewildering world of digital finance. Wyoming, often called the Wild West, right? They've now become the first state to issue its own stablecoin. It's called Frontier. So first off, what exactly is a stablecoin, and what does this ambitious move really mean?
Right. So a stablecoin is a type of digital currency, similar maybe to Bitcoin in concept, but it's designed specifically for stability.
Okay, stable, makes sense.
Yeah. Unlike other cryptocurrencies, which are famously volatile, stablecoins are meant to maintain a stable value. They do this by being backed by tangible assets, usually U.S. treasuries or cash.
Got it.
So in Wyoming's case, their Frontier stablecoin, it trades on 7 different blockchains, and it's legally required to be backed at 102%.
102%. So more cash than coins.
Exactly. Slightly
Yeah.
more cash in reserve than there are coins out there. They've even set up a Wyoming Stable Token Commission to manage the whole thing.
Now, Wyoming claims this is like a superior model to private stablecoin issuers, and that the interest on the backing cash will even fund education. How accurate is that assessment?
Well, to an extent, that's the theory. The interest generated from the cash reserves is earmarked for education funding.
Okay.
However, you could argue, if the goal is just to fund education, couldn't the state simply invest that same money directly without all the added complexity and infrastructure of setting up a stablecoin?
That's a fair point.
Furthermore, Wyoming states it doesn't need to comply with the Federal Genius Act, that's the act, trying to regulate digital assets until they issue over $10 billion worth of coins. Now, this is actually an exemption within the federal law, so technically they are complying by using that exemption.
Okay, interesting loophole. But this whole thing sounds intriguing on the surface. But like you said, new frontiers, there are definitely some significant gotchas for early adopters, right? What are the practical problems and risks here that you, our listener, should really consider?
Oh, there are several very significant challenges. First off, Frontier isn't actually legally purchasable yet. It still needs to navigate more regulatory hurdles.
Ah, okay. Not quite ready for prime time.
Not yet. Second, you'd need businesses willing to actually accept it, which means they'd have to set up new systems, deal with conversion fees, which they'd likely just pass on to consumers, right?
Yeah, probably.
Third, and this is a big one, liquidating Frontier, turning it back into traditional cash. It comes with hefty fees. We're talking 5% to 20%, according to a Stablecoin Insider.
5 to 20%. Wow, even the worst credit card cash advance doesn't charge that much.
Exactly. It's incredibly high.
And what about security and insurance? Things
Yeah.
that are absolutely crucial for any financial instrument we rely on.
This is perhaps the gravest concern. There is no FDIC equivalent, no federal deposit insurance for stablecoins.
Right. No safety net.
None. And the Wyoming Stable Token Commission's own website, it doesn't exactly inspire confidence regarding explicit guarantees. There's no evidence the state treasury is directly backing these funds if something goes wrong. And the biggest problem of all is this. Stablecoin, at its core, it's software. And software has bugs. Software can be hacked. We hear constantly about people losing hundreds of millions, even billions, every year to crypto hacks.
Yeah, those stories are everywhere.
So the critical question here is the state of Wyoming prepared to make people whole if Frontier gets hacked and people lose all their money? Or if their digital wallet software gets compromised? My analysis, that seems highly unlikely.
Yeah, that feels like a major gamble. And beyond the practicalities and the risks, why would someone even choose to use this? Especially if it isn't for speculation.
Precisely. Unlike Bitcoin, you can't speculate on its value, right? It's pegged to the dollar. So if it costs you 5% to 20% just to cash out, it hardly seems like a good investment vehicle.
Not at all.
And another crucial point, especially for anyone thinking about digital cash, is anonymity. The whole historical point of physical cash is its untraceability.
Right.
With stablecoin, everything you do is tracked on a blockchain. Forever. There's zero anonymity. The government knows exactly where you spent every single penny.
That's a huge trade-off.
It is. So when you weigh the lack of speculative value, the crazy high fees to cash out, the absence of FDIC protection, and the complete loss of anonymity, the practical reality, based on our sources, is, well, it's hard to find a compelling reason to use it, other than maybe being the first kid on the block to try it.
That's a really thorough breakdown, something that seems innovative, but comes with significant hidden costs and questions. Okay, let's shift gears now for a rapid-fire round. Critical security and privacy alerts that have emerged just this week, spanning everything from national security right down to your personal finances. We'll try to hit the most impactful stories.
All right, let's first zero in on the intensifying threat to our critical physical infrastructure. This shows just how vulnerable our daily lives are becoming to cyber attacks.
Okay.
We're seeing widespread vulnerabilities in EG4 solar inverters. Hackers could potentially intercept data, install malicious firmware, even seize control of systems. There are 55,000 devices affected.
55,000? That could cause large-scale grid disruption. That sounds like a real national security threat to energy independence.
It absolutely is. And it's not just theoretical, right? We also saw Russian hackers successfully take control of a dam in Norway. They opened the floodgates, released millions of gallons before the system was, thankfully, shut off quickly.
Wow, direct physical impact.
Exactly. And CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, they underscored this by releasing 32 industrial control system advisories just this week. That's on top of 50 or 60 recently. These are the systems running factories, oil, power, water.
The really critical stuff.
The critical stuff. And the challenge is patching them is incredibly difficult. Often there's no redundancy. You can't just take a power plant offline for patching easily.
Yeah, that makes sense. So while the threats are escalating, is there any good news? Any proactive efforts being made to defend this crucial infrastructure?
There is, actually. DEF CON Franklin. It's a fantastic initiative. Volunteers are matching cybersecurity experts with small, often under-resourced public water systems. There are about 50,000 of those in the U.S.
Wow, 50,000.
Yeah, providing essential security help.
Yeah.
And they're now scaling this up with national associations. It's a significant step towards protecting our most basic services.
That's great to hear. Okay, moving from critical infrastructure, let's look at the evolving ethical and technical challenges within AI itself. What's recently come to light regarding Meta's internal AI policies?
Well, a recently leaked internal memo from Meta, which they since confirmed, is real outlined policies that, frankly, are disturbing. It allowed their chatbots to engage in romantic or even sensual conversations with children, to disseminate false information, and even to demean minorities.
With children, seriously?
Yes, this isn't just a corporate misstep. It highlights the profound ethical choices being made right now inside these AI development labs. Choices that could have really serious societal implications. And you can bet this will likely lead to numerous lawsuits and a huge PR disaster for Meta.
Unbelievable. And even the brand new powerful AI releases are facing immediate challenges, aren't they?
Absolutely. ChatGPT-5, just released this week, was immediately put through its paces by red teams. These are basically ethical hackers trying to break its defenses.
Right, stress testing it.
And they rapidly found ways to bypass its guardrails. For instance, getting it to give instructions for building a bomb. Researchers have already deemed it unusable for enterprise use right out of the box without significant extra hardening.
So still a long way to go on safety.
A long way. It points to the massive challenges in building truly safe and reliable AI at scale. Even the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, they're struggling to effectively use AI for fast-tracking drug approvals because the stakes are just so incredibly high. Life or death situations.
Yeah, you can't afford mistakes there. It sounds like the promise of AI comes with some very real and often unintended dangers. Even new coding tools are being repurposed, I hear.
Unfortunately, yes. Lovable, which is a unicorn's the vibe coding space. This is where you sort of talk to a system to generate code.
Okay, conversational coding.
Right. Ironically, it's become a tool of choice for hackers to write malicious code more easily. It's just another example of how even tools intended for good can be weaponized.
Okay, shifting gears again, digital finance and the ever-present threat of fraud. Zelle has been in the news for some troubling reasons.
Yes, Zelle is currently facing lawsuits over a lack of warnings about social engineering scams, where users get tricked into directly transferring funds to hackers.
Right, those authorized push payment scams.
Exactly. It's become such a pervasive issue that federal laws are likely coming as a direct result, especially since banks have historically often refused to make victims whole in those cases.
Oh, about time.
We've also seen a concerning development in crypto. Cubic, a mining company, now controls over 50% of Monero mining.
Over half.
Over half. This concentration of power means they could, theoretically, change reality on the blockchain, alter transaction history. It undermines the very trust mechanisms of decentralized currency.
That's a fundamental threat. And ransomware operations are also evolving, becoming even more sophisticated.
Without doubt. Embargo ransomware, it's a spinoff of the notorious Black Cat Group, is now incorporating AI and machine learning. They're using it for what they call scaleless cryptocurrency laundering as a service.
Laundering as a service using AI.
Yeah. It significantly enhances their ability to hide illicit funds and operate more efficiently. Raises the stakes for law enforcement significantly.
Okay, finally, let's quickly cover some key updates on corporate security and data privacy. What are companies doing to combat infiltration and ensure data safety? Anything surprising?
Well, maybe surprisingly, many companies are actually reverting to in-person interviews. Up to 30% of job openings now require them, which is way up from just 5% previously.
Really? Why the shift back?
It's a direct response to combat foreign spies, particularly from North Korea, trying to infiltrate companies. And also, frankly, to prevent applicants from using off-screen AI to generate their interview answers in real time.
Ah, the AI cheating problem. So a human touch making a comeback for verification. What about government contracting and data security, CMMC?
Yeah, for government contractors, the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, CMMC, it is definitively not going away. What's happening is, instead of actively enforcing it through audits everywhere immediately, contracting officers are simply disqualifying bidders who aren't compliant.
Ah, makes their job easier.
Exactly. But it puts immense pressure on companies to comply or lose out on contracts.
Got it. And ransomware groups are consolidating.
Yes, there's been a significant merger. Scattered Spider, Shiny Hunters, and another group have merged. They're now calling themselves the Cum.
Come. Okay.
And they're using Telegram to publicly pressure claimed victims. We're talking major brands.
Yeah.
Gucci, Chanel, Subaru, even supposedly U.S. Homeland Security, Coke Europe. Many haven't admitted being hacked yet.
Wow. Public shaming. Lawsuits incoming, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely. Expect a wave of lawsuits there.
Any other major breaches we should know about?
Sadly, yes. A Manpower staffing franchisee lost data on 150,000 people. Financials, HR records, passports, IDs, contracts, NDAs, the works.
Oof.
And the Pennsylvania Attorney General systems were down recently, likely due to an unpatched Citrix NetScaler vulnerability. It just highlights that even government agencies aren't immune to basic patching failures.
Yeah, basics matter.
And perhaps most disturbingly, DaVita, a healthcare provider, admitted that medical records of almost 1 million veterans were exposed. Names, check images, patient history, medical info.
1 million veterans. That's awful.
It's a stark reminder of the incredibly sensitive data that's constantly at risk.
Just a truly alarming list. But there have been some positive developments too, right? You mentioned FedRAMP.
Indeed. On a brighter note, FedRAMP approvals, that's a certification for cloud software for government use, they've more than doubled this year. 114 approvals compared to less than 50 last year.
Okay, that's progress.
And the Department of Defense, the DoD, is even working on something called FedRAMP 20X to accelerate this process further. So there's a clear drive to securely modernize government IT.
Good to hear some forward momentum. And finally, a quick geopolitical tech update. U.S.-China AI chip battle.
Right. The U.S. government recently allowed NVIDIA to sell old H20 chips to China. Now, they aren't truly old. They're more like deliberately throttled versions.
Okay, nerfed chips.
Pretty much. But it came with a catch, a 15% reverse tariff. However, China is deeply suspicious of potential backdoors in these chips. They're strongly urging their domestic companies to use Chinese-made chips instead.
So it might backfire on NVIDIA's sales.
Very likely. It'll probably significantly impact NVIDIA's projected sales in that huge market. It just highlights this escalating tech Cold War.
Yeah.
And one last quick point on that security front. Initial access brokers, or IABs, these are the hackers who just specialize in breaking into networks, stealing credentials, and then selling that access to other criminal groups. They continue to operate with near zero risk of getting caught.
So they're like the entry point facilitators for bigger hacks.
Exactly. They represent a fundamental weakness in the security chain for so many organizations.
Okay. As we wrap up this deep dive, it is just abundantly clear we're living through an incredible period of both innovation and really profound challenge. From how AI is reshaping boardrooms to the very nature of digital money and this constant escalating battle for cybersecurity. The landscape is just shifting daily. Sometimes it feels like hourly.
It really does. And if we try to connect this to the bigger picture, I think the common thread weaving through all these topics, the increasing complexity, right? And the critical, absolutely non-negotiable need for understanding. Not just for technologists anymore, but for every single person.
Yeah.
As one of our sources powerfully suggested, AI is no longer optional. Understanding it is now critical for business executives. It went so far as to say, and I quote, "If you don't want to extend the effort to learn about AI, then perhaps it's time to retire."
Wow. That's a truly provocative statement.
Yeah.
So for you, our listener, what does that mean in your world? What's your next step in deepening your understanding of these seismic shifts? What really stands out to you from today's deep dive that you'll be mulling over, maybe exploring further on your own?
Good questions to ponder.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and we really encourage your continued curiosity in this rapidly changing world.